Welcome to the MAGC Wellness Podcast. My name is Kgao and I am your host. Today we'll be talking about something that we've covered before, but we've never actually spoken about having a lived experience of this. Today we'll be talking about workplace bullying and the detrimental effects it can have on someone's mental health and overall life. Okay, so today we have Ndivhuwo Sadike, who I happen to know because we were classmates. Hi, Ndivhuwo.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's been long.
Yeah. Close to 10 years now.
Guys, don't even wonder how old we are. So I want us to talk about something that you've shared online.
Okay.
And it has received a lot of feedback. It's gone viral.
Yeah.
All right. Did you ever think it would go viral?
No. But I did pray that it gets to the right people. And it did. That was the main issue. Also to help other people. No, it's not everyone that are brave like me.
Yes.
That would want to come out about what is happening in their lives and things like that. But I never thought it will go viral.
And I know you've been on quite a few platforms talking about it.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know what? I know a lot of people don't realize that workplace bullying affects you outside of the workplace.
Yeah.
Right? And I know you've gone through quite a bit because of that. I'm going to ask about when it started and just give us context that you work in the health sector. Yeah, and just tell us about your story from the beginning.
Okay. It started actually when I joined the institution. This was in 2020. When I started working, I didn't know about the hospital. But when I went for an interview, the first day when I went for an interview, I did have that experience that it's not a nice place. Even the securities are not that welcoming. You're asked to park your car outside the hospital. And I was like, no, I don't know about Suti people, but maybe it was because it was the first day. Maybe people were just going through their own stuff. And then I went for an interview and then I got employment. But the first week that I was there, I was told, no, I want you to run the department, but you're still new. Don't even know about the department. It's still my first week. I need to orientate myself with the people. Remember, it was the first time meeting Sotho people, Sotho speaking people. After meeting Tswana speaking people when we were in varsity. So, but I think I was surviving. I wouldn't say I was coping because, yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, that's when this whole thing started. It was in 2020.
So it was a lot from the beginning. So, you know, a lot of people will say work was great and whatnot, and then it got toxic. So you've never actually had a positive working experience at that particular institution.
No.
Sure.
In our department, we didn't have a chief therapist. So it means it was just two of us, the dual qualified speech therapist and audiologist. And we were doing everything ourselves. Yeah, but there was someone acting, and we did motivate to say we need a manager because this is too much. You have to see speech therapy patients, you have to see audio patients, and they were inpatients admitted. And mind you, this is a regional hospital. It's very busy. So, yeah, it was a lot, even from the department itself. Not that we didn't complain. We did ask about post, and we were told, no, I know we still need to build the production level posts. But we're like, no, please just hire a manager. Whoever who comes, they can motivate for production level positions. But it fell in the deaf ear. And yeah,
Sure.
that's, yeah.
So I would imagine that you were not the only person that wasn't enjoying their work experience, because I would imagine that this person is a manager of a few people, not just you, right? So were you the only person affected by this person's behavior?
No. It's just that I won't mention names. I'm not sure if you like it, but you know her. She was our classmate.
Sure.
She did a community service there. And in 2018, she told me that it was bad. To a point that worst part, the senior therapist that were working with her resigned because of the very same person. And she was left alone in a regional hospital as a community service therapist. So she did tell me about the experiences that she had. Even the people that are working in that person's department, they are not happy. Most people resign because of her. And some who did have one-on-one to say, but you guys need to report. The difference with me and them is that I escalated the matter. After the first time when I was admitted in a psychiatric hospital, I did actually report. But that person was even connected with the CEO, so they were not gonna do anything. So I would say they were friends, because they would even sit in the office, chat for long, and even when I reported, it didn't even go anywhere.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you mentioned being admitted to a psychiatric hospital. How did things get there? So I would assume it affected your mental health so much that happened.
Yeah.
So how did it get that bad?
So in 2021, I was pregnant for the first time. Unfortunately, I miscarried. When I had a miscarriage, I was diagnosed with severe depression. But I think it was also the work stress. But I thought I was coping because, I was with a colleague whom will talk about everything. And even when I would cry in the office, she would say, "No, don't mind her. You know that's how she is. Don't allow her to get to you." And in 2023, she left because she got a higher position as a chief therapist. Yeah, that's when I felt the pressure, because now I was alone in the office. She's not there. I don't have anyone to vent to. So everything, I was just bottling everything in me. And then the first time when I was admitted in Mediclinic, they thought I was having seizures. And the neurologist was doing tests. So what happened, she sent people to the office, to the hospital, to come see me. She didn't consult with me. She just sent everyone. It was a bunch of them.
Sure.
I think the whole office. And they came with a vase and flowers, and they said whatever that they said. But when they left, I left that vase with the nursing staff in Mediclinic. So, so then I was doing everything all by myself. So the pressure was too much.
Sure.
Because with the other lady, we used to work together. So we'll share patients, we'll assist each other. So it was not that bad, even though we would be tired, but we would manage to do what we can. And after that, I saw that it's like she was manipulating the junior staff. You would tell them to do some things, like when they go to her, she would say something bad about me. I don't know, but that's what that's how I felt, because when they would have a meeting with her, their attitude will change, their reaction will change. So that's when I sat down with her to tell her that don't want to do any managerial duties, especially that I was not being compensated for the services that I was rendering of being a manager. So when I left the hospital, the very same night, she sent a comserve. It was the OT comserve, to send me a message saying the vase that was bought to me when I was in hospital, they need it back because it's hospital property. Yeah, that night a lot was going on in my head. I was not staying with my husband then, but I did call him to tell him about what happened. He told me, do not buy it, because he never asked for them to bring a vase for you when you were admitted. I was like, no, I don't want her to bring that all the time, because for me, that's a sensitive thing. You can't do anything like that. But because she wants it, I'm going to buy the vase. I bought the vase. I went to work. I didn't sleep the night before. I was crying the whole night. So my emotions I was very angry. So I went to the hospital the following day. When I went to the hospital, she was in her office. And for a few minutes, she was on the phone. I was just stood there with the stupid vase that I had on my hand. And then she just said to me, yeah, to me that's being rude. Yeah, that's when I lost it. I said, you said you want a vase, take it. I just remember throwing that vase at her.
Sure.
But it fell on the floor and it broke. And that made me angry that it didn't hit her. Then I wanted to beat her. But I couldn't. It's like there was just something holding me back. I don't even remember half of the things that happened. I just told her that I will kill you, but I don't kill people. I didn't know that I could get angry to that extent. But I realized that it was a lot because I said a lot. And then after that, that's when I had a panic attack. I couldn't breathe. And then the physios were there. But I did manage to calm down, and then I drove home. And then from there, yeah, it wasn't. That's when I started hearing voices, kill yourself, kill yourself. Then that's when I realized that it means that I've been under a lot of stress. But I thought I was coping because I'll go to church whenever when I feel down, or pray, I'll go to the gym. So that's how I was coping, but not necessarily dealing with the problem. And she didn't stop. She just kept getting worse. And yeah, that was the first time when I was admitted. It was in 2024 or 20, yeah. I think it was in 2024 around May, the first time I was admitted.
So what I want to ask, so firstly, I'm so sorry. That sounds horrible, and it sounds very difficult, to deal with, especially because you have to go to work every day.
Yeah.
So now my question becomes, I mean, if things got to a point where they were physical, right, or where things were escalating pretty quickly in terms of the interaction, did management not get involved? Did they not do anything? Maybe getting counseling for both of you or some kind of conflict management? Because I would imagine it's not safe for you guys, but also for the other people that you work with.
So what the allied manager did was to remove me from reporting to her as the OT, to reporting directly to the allied manager. That's all that they did. But to sit both of us down to say they're trying to resolve the matter, or to see how did it escalate to this point of people now getting physical. Mind you, it was not just me. Even in pharmacy department, the same thing happened, where you find that a junior wanted to hit a manager. So it's not just the allied department. It's even in nursing, even in different department, clinic department. But not that people didn't report. We do escalate the matter to labor. And for me, I was just served with a letter saying that I should have reported it from 2020 when I saw that there was bullying happening. I told them that no, but now I'm reporting it because it's affecting my mental health. I thought I was coping then, but now I see that she's not getting better. Actually, she's getting worse. And I'm not the only one that she's done this to. They didn't do anything. And that made me, not to be okay. I was not okay at all. I think I went to the psychiatric hospital for 2 weeks. I was discharged. I came out feeling better. But now when I was served with a letter to say there's nothing we can do to help you, to a point that even when I went to the wellness clinic in the hospital, the psychologist sat with me straight like this to say, what happened? Everyone is traumatized. Mind you, whatever that happened, it's only that lady. Because it was in her office. The door was closed. So it was only 3 people there. The other colleagues, what they saw, they just saw me coming out of office crying. And I was having a panic attack. That's all they saw. So, Uguti, what happened in there, no one knows. It's only the previous supervisor that knows what happened. And the previous ComServe. Because it was just 3 people.
Sure.
So, when I did seek help from the wellness clinic in hospital, I was told that they can't give me counseling. If I see, mind you, I was sitting in front of the psychologist with tears to show that I was not okay. He told me straight that, no, we're busy debriefing staff. So it's as a conflict. Is that code, something of interest.
Conflict of interest,
yeah. That's what he said to me. And But I told him that I need help. My medical aid is exhausted because I've been in and out of hospitals and MRI after MRI. It didn't have money. It means whatever that I needed to do, I had to pay directly
Cash.
from my pocket. They told me that if you see that you need psychological counseling, you can tell us. We'll refer you to the nearest clinic where you'll see a psychologist there, but the institution won't be able to help you. I took it upon myself to find a private psychologist, Ms. Rusepile. She's still my psychologist till to date. That's where I was going for psychological counseling, but they didn't do anything. To a point that even now, when I asked for a meeting with the management, I was told that you need to bring your therapist because you have anger issues.
Sure.
And I just asked him, the anger that you're talking about, did you see it 4 years later after I reported bullying in the workplace? So if I had anger issues, what did you do from your side? Because if you see that an employee is having a problem, you need to take it upon yourself to say, maybe let's take her for anger management course because she has anger issues. And I was like, with what happened, it happened then. It never happened again till to date. You know. So there's nothing that management did. I did even send WhatsApp messages to head office. I was blue ticked. They didn't respond. The only time when head office acted to call me, it was now when they saw that TikTok video because National saw the video because it was trending. And then they called me to ask what happened. I gave them my side of the story. And then now they asked the culprits in the head office, what did you do? They didn't do anything. Now they're trying to see as if they're doing anything, calling me left, right, and center. I just switched off my phone because it was 2 years long that I had to come to social media crying to say, Mara Department of Health, you advocate for mental health. But it's just for people to see that it seems like we are doing something, but they're not doing anything. If I'm telling you, if they're to do audits, I'm sure you will be surprised yourself to see how many nurses that are taking antidepressants. Some of them, they would text me privately that, no, I was also diagnosed, this and this is happening, but I'm scared of reporting because I'll be victimized. I'm saying this because I'm a living proof of that. I am still being victimized for speaking out.
To this day.
Yeah. Even colleagues, they see you, it's like they're seeing an animal that needs to be caged, to a point that the very same manager would call my husband and tell him, I think your wife is not fine. Why don't you take her?
Call your husband?
Yeah, why don't you take her to a psychiatric hospital? I've been to a psychiatric hospital 4 times. So to me, it was like, it seems like it makes them happy to see me in and out of psychiatric hospital, to a point that I had to take it upon myself, to say, no, it means there's also something that I'm doing wrong. I'm not taking care of me, and I love saving people. I love helping my patients, but if it's at the cost of my mental health, it's not worth it. That's when I wrote a letter to the very same manager to tell her that I can't do any managerial duties anymore. And since I'm the only speech therapist and audiologist appointed in that hospital, I can only do one thing at a time. So it means audiology duties, since you have someone who's permanent, who's only audio, he will focus on that. I can't see audiology patients anymore. That didn't sit well with them, because even when I went to labor offices, that's when they said, but no, you are dual qualified. It means you have to do both. I just asked him, so do you want me to cut myself into 4? One part will do speech inpatients, one part will do speech outpatients, and then the other part will do audio outpatient and inpatients. I'm just one person. And this hospital is very busy. I cannot do everything. And me being in and out of psychiatric hospital is a proof that I was not coping. It affected my life to a point that I lost 3 of my children. And it was not a nice thing, because, even with my husband, anyone, it's too much to say, no, but this person, where's the problem? And then when we check the road, it's work stress. And with stress, they can't take blood tests to say, no, blood test shows that you... It's only now with the behavior of you not coping, you're absconding at work, like your performance starting to drop. That's when they start to see that, no, that person is not okay. But they didn't do anything because I had to pay for a psychologist myself in a public hospital where you can go to a wellness clinic and speak to a psychologist appointed to see employees. But they didn't do that for me. Even now, that's when they saw the video, that's when they're saying, no, go to wellness clinic. And I asked them to do what? You couldn't help me the first time I came crying. Now I'm being assisted elsewhere. I don't need your help now. I'm okay where I am. And it was that thing of they want to know. It's like they want to monitor. Where are you? With our files, anyone can just take your file, go through your medical records to say what's happening and even same thing with the CEO. I've never said like this, Kgao, to speak to the CEO. I sent him emails, he didn't respond. He's new. The old one left. I think they didn't renew the contract since the National Department of Health decided to freeze all the posts. So they had to let her go. So the current one is acting. He doesn't know me, I don't know him. But he seems to know a lot about me. And he has made a conclusion that have anger issues and they don't feel safe around me because of how I react. And then I just asked them, if you created a beast, you guys are researchers, you created this beast that I am, that you're saying I am, and then now when I react, now you're saying now I'm like a pit bull, I need to be caged. I can't work around people, to a point that they even have a nerve to say, no, you should move to Kopanong Hospital because it seems like you're not happy here. And I just simply asked, why am I not happy? What did you do when you saw that I was not happy? Before moving someone, I we have to try resolving the problem.
Sure.
Still, if they're still not happy, then that's when you can ask them, maybe we can move you. I was like, I can work with enemies. I walk around enemies everywhere I go. But you live with those people. They won't disappear. You just have to learn to not allow them to trigger you. That's what has been working for me, to a point that now I had to isolate myself. But I do better alone. I don't like being around people because I've learned people are very judgmental, So yeah, it's a lot happening in that hospital, to a point that sometimes I do get triggered and I will have bad weekends, and my husband had to deal with that.
Sure.
And to a point that he asked, why don't you resign? I was like, I can resign, but I have to resign because I want to, not because someone is pushing me to an extent to say, resign because I'm going to make your life uncomfortable until we resign. That's what they've been doing to others. We've lost good doctors to a point that we didn't go to school to suffer. Even when you go to work, you are not going to work to be bullied or to be abused. But we go through that, and when it's happening, you are expected that you must keep quiet. And I told them, I will make your life a living hell. You don't know me. I even tell them, I'm from Limpopo. Maybe you can do it to people who are from KZN. And I'm Venda girl, Kingwanam Shari. That's why I always tell them, God, if you don't know me, ask about Limba people. For now, I may be depressed, but when I come back, all of you are going to be sorry. And I even told them now that I want answers. I won't stop until Ramaphosa send his soldiers to say, you are fired. Take your bags and leave hospital property. And I won't resign. Maybe then when I'm happy and I feel that now I'm fine, they got what they deserve, then I can resign. Or I can do whatever that I want with my life. It's not easy. I don't want to lie. But with the experience, I think a stronger me was born. To a point that I don't easily get triggered about anything. You can even shout at me, do anything. I'll just sit and look at you and I'll just ask, are you done? And then I leave. And then most people will think that, no, but you're going to get lonely. I'm like, everyone that knows me in Medusa, even you as my classmate, to a point that some did ask me, Ndivhuwo, like, don't you like us? Do you get bored? I'm like, no, I just like my space. I don't like being around people because, you know, I don't know, but people are judgmental and I react somehow to that. So I'd rather be by myself. I do have friends, but my cycle is very small. I only have two true friends from childhood.
Sure.
And we've been through a lot together that they were consistent. They were there. In good, in bad times, they were there. Hence, they're still in my life till today. Some, they were there, but I saw that when things get hard,
They're not there anymore. I also want to ask, Nam, because you also mentioned that this person called your husband. I would assume there's policies around, you know, boundaries of communication. I don't think that's allowed for someone to call your spouse to talk about work-related things without your permission. So would I be correct in saying management still didn't do anything to reprimand that person, to like no warning, no verbal warning, written warning? They just let it go.
with policies, I mean, if someone reports bullying and abuse, there are policies around that, how you deal with that. I mean, you can suspend that person pending investigation. If they're found guilty, then you take Baraking. The English is leaving.
It's okay, let it leave, let it evaporate.
So they need to take measures or whatever that they're gonna do to say, if you do this, these are the consequences of your actions. I mean, each and every institution, whether government, or whether private or public, they are guided by rules and regulations around work, as per labor rules and regulations. We need to follow that. They don't follow policies, those people. Like, if someone, a manager or whoever who completed my leave form and submitted on my behalf using my PESAL, using my addresses, using my names, to me that's fraud. You can't do that.
So they filled out your leave form for you.
Yeah, and it was accepted by HR, but didn't have my signature. Then I was very sick. I was back home in Limpopo. I was not even around Gauteng. And I asked them, this is not the leave that I completed. It's not even my handwriting. And then they tried to say, no, I asked, who submitted this leave? They said, I know how things are. So I was like, I don't know how things work here. I just want to know who submitted it. But I let it go because, then I was not okay. To a point that they would even start new clinics where they're booking 20 patients, 15 patients, and you're expected to see that. And when you try to voice it out, to say, but this won't work for me. Even HPCSA doesn't allow me to see
That
20 patients as a therapist per day, because the time that we take when we're assessing a patient, it wouldn't be the same as the doctor when they're assessing. Because sometimes, it's just follow-up. Follow-ups will take 5 minutes. But for us as speech therapists, you can take 1 hour. Can take even longer than that, should you need to discuss that case with the other MDT team, So, and I was told that when you were not here, other people had to do it. So if you don't want to do it, you can leave it. I just said, it's fine. You can appoint someone who can. I can't. I can't see 20 patients. And that made things worse. To say, it seems like now you don't want to do the work. It's not that I don't want to do. I'm a very passionate speech therapist, and my patient can even say that. When I'm seeing a patient, if I don't know something, I even bother other therapists. I'll call Bara, I'll call anyone, so that I just know what's going on with this patient. Hence, I take long when I'm seeing my patients, because I don't want to leave anything out. So I'm like, if you're expecting me to see 20 patients, when am I going to finish seeing them? Because I work 8 hours a day. And in that 8 hours, it means even if I'm seeing all the patients for 8 hours, remember in that 8 hours, you still need lunch. You still have your tea breaks and everything. So they don't respect policies. They will serve you with policies when it serves them. Like now, when they say I absconded and I was served with a letter of abscondment, even though they knew that I was admitted in a psychiatric hospital. So they don't follow any rules in that hospital, and yeah, they will try by all means to make sure that they cover their tracks. But in my case, how are you gonna cover it? Because you didn't do anything for me.
There's nothing to cover actually because.
Eh.
So wait, let's go back to the abscondment thing. Abscondment means you have not pitched to work when you were supposed to, right? So you just didn't come to work with no explanation. Did they not know where you were? Because, yeah, please just take us through that.
They did. Because the time when I was admitted first time, 2024, I think I was readmitted again. And this time, I think it was the third time that I was being admitted. Or if not the second time. So I did sit down with my manager to tell her that I'm not coping with how they dealt with the case. I think it took me back to square one to say, I reported this, but it seems like people do bad things and they get away with it. So it affected my mental health so bad. And I sat down with her that I'm going to go get help. But I tried the medical way, it's not working. Even with the medication, I had a bunch of medication from Epilem, Respiradol. I was not coping well at all. To a point that sometimes I would vomit, sometimes I would have fits, seizures. A lot happened,
Sure.
and I told her this is going to affect my physical health, because now if I'm reacting towards medication, it's my body screaming to say no, this is not for me. So I'm gonna deal with this the medical way. But I was admitted in Valpark because when I met my psychiatrist, she said no, I need to admit you because you are still very much depressed. And I did tell her that, yeah, this and this is happening. I was admitted, but when I was admitted, she did something that kind of triggered me. And yeah, they thought I was losing it. And
Who did something? The manager?
No, it was the psychiatrist when I was admitted.
Okay.
Because, they thought maybe I was not okay because I don't sleep at night. I told them, no, I sleep early. I sleep as early as 6 or 7 sometimes. So, of course, by 12 o'clock, you'll be awake because you've slept enough for around 1 or 2 a.m. You'll be awake. And there are certain times where I would wake up and I will do my prayers. To them, that was not okay because I would sit in the kitchen. Even though they've given me medication, I wouldn't sleep. I would still wake up. Even in a Mediclinic, the same thing happened. I would still wake up with a high dose of a sleeping pill. I would wake up. And they thought I was sleepwalking, and because my behavior was not normal. So then I was transferred from Valpark to Rent Clinic. But when I was transferred from Valpark, it was not voluntary. Because I did tell her to discharge me because whatever that they were doing, I was not liking it at all. But to her, in a psychiatric hospital, if you say I'm okay, that's when they think you're not okay. And I told the psychiatrist, call my father so that he can sign refusal of treatment and then you can discharge me. She kept on saying, no, I need to speak to her husband.
To your husband? Okay.
Then I told her, no, call my father. My husband might not even understand what's going on because a lot happened, and to a point that they thought I was losing it or I was crazy. And even the psychiatrist diagnosed me with, it was severe depression with psychosis. That was the diagnosis that I was diagnosed with. And now when I was admitted in Valpark, this was 2025.
Last year?
Yeah, this was last year. She was querying bipolar. And I'm like, where's the bipolar coming from? Can one move from being severe, can it move from 3rd-degree depression to a bipolar? Like, no, we need to investigate. I'm like, what is it that you're investigating that other psychiatrists failed to find the answer? I told you this is a spiritual matter. It's not medically related. And I even asked them, like, how comfortable are you guys dealing with people that are spiritual? And that's when they told me that there's a thin line between spirituality and psychiatric disorders. Because, with prophets, you see things, and to psychiatrists, that's you hallucinating. So, yeah, that's when I was transferred from Valpark to Rent Clinic, because she just asked me, then why are you here? Then that made me angry. Because she's the one that said, no, come, I want to investigate. come with all the medication, come with all your MRIs, I mean the scans that the other doctors have done. I did all of that. I thought maybe you'll be able to tell me what's wrong with me, because other people, with the answer that they're giving me, I was not happy. And then, yeah, that made me angry. When I'm angry, you think that I've lost it. And I don't fight people, it's just my mouth. I just have verbal diarrhea when I'm angry. So, yeah, they thought I was losing it, and then I had to be sedated. And I was transferred from Val Park to the Rent Clinic. Rent Clinic is like...
Well sedated.
Yeah. Rent Clinic is like Vescopis, but it's just that it's private. And when I was there, they were forcing me to take medication, and I told them, I've been taking medication, I don't cope well. I even told them, I think I'm allergic to epilim, but as a psych patient, they never take anything that you say is serious. So, and then they just gave me a shot, and I had seizures. I think they gave me an injection because they gave me pills. I said, no, I'm not going to take pills. And then they said they're going to inject me. After they injected me, it didn't even take 5 minutes. I started having bad seizures.
Sure.
And from there, that's when I asked my husband, you need to discharge me from here before they kill me with this medication. Even the following day when I was discharged at home, I had seizures for close to 1 hour. Collapsed. And I told him, don't take me to the hospital. If I die, it means it's my time. Don't want to go to the hospital. These people are going to kill me. And my body will just flush everything. After the seizures and everything, I'll vomit or I'll have bad diarrhea. And after that, I'll feel lighter. So with medication, it didn't work. It would work for a short period of time. But after that, you start reacting. You ask, why am I reacting? Because I've been coping well. So it shows that with this one, they gave me this antidepressant when I was admitted in Kopanong. But when I was readmitted in Kopanong, they just continued with it because it was the one that I was coping. And then I've been taking it from last year. It was only when my father passed away that I forgot the medication, because then I was using my husband as car. And when I left, I was told that it was not okay, and then I had to go home. I had to rush back home in Limpopo, and medication, I forgot it in my car. So the whole December I was not on medication, and my dad passed away. But somehow I was coping, even though I was not on any medication. But when I came back from home, when you're busy with the funeral, you don't get to grieve properly. Yes, the grief is there, but it's like there just are things that are keeping you busy from dealing with the real pain. But now when I went back home in January, that's when it hit hard. That, Dad now is gone, and I was not coping. So when I came back in Vereeniging at my place in January, that's when I collapsed. I thought I was having a stroke. Yeah, but I think it was a warning sign, because even when I was at home, it was a point where my right arm and my right leg would stop working, as if you've had a stroke. But I was very much aware of everything, but this time it was bad because I was on the phone with my sister, and then I just collapsed and I couldn't move. But I was very much aware. The only thing that I could do was to pray. I couldn't even talk. And it was not the first time that I would present with stroke-like signs and couldn't talk at all. I didn't have speech. So, but I just prayed that, God, whatever that is happening, I can't die now, because who will take care of my mom? If I have a stroke and I die now. But after, I think, 45 minutes, then that's when I managed to wake up, and then I climbed the bed and I just slept. And I woke up around 2 a.m. and then the same thing, just have diarrhea, and I took an antidepressant. I just took the pills after the whole December of not taking the pill, and it almost costed my life. So I don't know, was it stress? Was it the pill? I didn't even go to the hospital because I'm like...
There's trauma there.
Yeah.
So, I know with the death of your father, and I'm so sorry. I think listening to your whole experience, I'm not even sure how you are here. It is incredibly traumatic.
Yeah.
So I have quite a few questions still, because So before we get into all the questions that I have, I remember seeing one of your statuses following your father's passing, where you had mentioned that you didn't have the funds to go home because I think they cut your pay or they suspended. Or I remember there was something of that sort.
Okay, so after they drafted that letter of abscondment, they froze my salary at work. I didn't get paid May, I didn't get paid June. And then to them, they said it's unpaid leave because I didn't have a medical certificate. It's not that I didn't try, but the treating psychiatrist, she was nowhere to be found. I went to a practice in Valpark. I sent emails. I went to a practice in Vereeniging. She didn't give me the sick note. I did, however, submit the proof of admission. My psychologist asked for it because she was also seeing me when I was in Valpark. And then they gave her the proof of admission, but they rejected it at work to say that's not a medical certificate. They need a medical certificate. But I was like, but I'm just giving you proof to say I didn't abscond. I was admitted. And I had challenges. I sent emails to you guys that how can I fill this leave or what kind of leave can I apply for? And you told me that you need a medical certificate because when I left work, I said I was not well. But these are the challenges. What can I do? At some point they didn't even respond to emails. How hell I had to drive to work and sit down with the DD of HR to say, but I sent an email. Why not respond? Like, oh, I didn't see it. Let me respond now. I was sitting with him like this.
Sure.
And then that's when he responded that no, I was served with a leave policy. And then they said it was going to be unpaid. But I'm like, I reported. I even gave them everything. WhatsApp messages, I even wrote a letter myself to say, but I reported this lady knew where I was. Why would she lie to say that I was not... Okay, so he said he was going to respond, and then that's when he responded to the email. And yeah, so with the freezing of the salary, now I had to go to my treating GPs. I remember with psychiatrists, they take long. And even with the one that was treating me there in Rent Clinic, I had to send emails, didn't respond. I had to go to his practice and wait for the sick note that at work they want it now. So can you just write a sick note for the days that you admitted me? He was like, how long do you want me to book you for? Karno, just the time that you guys admitted me, it's fine. The other sick note already, my treating GP had completed it. And because I was in Limpopo, I had consulted in the local hospital at home, but they couldn't assist me because they said, you are not our patient. We can't book you for that long because it will raise a lot of questions to say, how are we booking you for that long, even if we didn't admit you? So maybe you have to go back to your treating psychiatrist and ask them for a sick note. So I went to my treating GP, gave me a sick note. I think now it was in May. So when I submitted it to HR, I was told that the sick note was not completed correctly. So went back to the GP, told him the same message that they told me. He wrote a letter asking them, can you please just call me on this number or send me an email of what exactly do I need to write on his sick note that will be acceptable in the institution where she's working. That lady shouted at me, Kgao. So do you want me to go to the doctor to ask for a sick note on your behalf? I was like, no, I have a sick note. You said it's wrong. So it just tell him what they were like, no, we're not going to respond, even to a point where I was submitting documents. In government, you make people sign for everything because they lose them. They refused. They said, if you want to keep your conversation, you can keep it with you. If you feel like we are going to lose it, or I was like, no, I just want you to acknowledge that I've given this to you. Should tomorrow these things goes missing? That she refused. She said no. And that instead, I felt that beast. Once I start shaking, I know it's about to go down. I was like, it's not worth it. I'm not going to do what happened. I could have hurt someone. Not proud of what happened in there. Because that's not me. And I was even shocked myself that I reacted the way that I reacted. I just left. But I just remember I just said nonsense and then I left. And then after that, even when I would go to HR asking for help, she would say, Anki Ronaldi nonsense. At least someone who will help her. I don't want to help her. I sent another email to the same manager to say, if she is reacting like this or she doesn't want to deal with my case, can you at least allocate someone? I don't have to deal with her because with her attitude, I don't accept people shouting at me. It triggers me.
In a professional.
Yes. I'm expecting everyone to be professional. And then my medical aid was cancelled. It's only now that I found out. Yeah, I went to James' offices to find out what happened. And then that's when they told me, your workplace didn't make the payment. Hence, your medical aid lapsed. So it was like, James is saying it's my workplace saying it's James. But it made sense to say,
I've never heard of that.
yeah, the medical aid can't cancel. If they received payment, they can't cancel. Or if they got some sort of a letter to say, no, this person is still very much alive, still working in the same institution, they wouldn't have cancelled the medical aid. So now when I contacted them, that's when, it was just last week when I contacted James.
Just last week?
Yeah. And I was sitting with them. I said, no, call James. I'm tired with you up and down. So you are saying it's James and James is saying it's you. I think let's just call them while I'm here. And then that's when they explained everything. To say that I was happy. I was very angry. Because now I'm left with a debt of 6,000 rand because remember it lapsed after I was admitted. So to James, it was like I'm misusing the funds, and after that I cancelled the medical aid. So it was some sort of a fine. And I just asked them, with everything that you guys did, it's not that I absconded. How do I abscond if I was in a psychiatric hospital?
I physically couldn't come to work.
Yes. And I've given you guys everything. Not an apology, not even a meeting to explain that maybe there was a miscommunication between HR and my manager and myself. This is why it escalated to that. But now you are still blaming me to say next time don't abscond because now it's like I've lost a lot. And then last year, August, I was pregnant. But after they froze the salary because of stress, I miscarried again. And it was in the second trimester, Leona. All the miscarriages were in the second trimester. It was not even the first trimester. Yeah, I was like, you guys costed me a lot. To a point that it didn't just affect me. It affected my parents. It affected my husband. It affected my siblings. Because remember, I'm the eldest. And when I was not okay, my younger sister was staying with us and my husband. She had to witness all of that. Me collapsing. All of those things that people didn't get to see. My family witnessed that to a point that I was crazy. I was talking alone. I had lost it completely. And how I recovered from that, from being an actual psychiatric patient to being a normal Ndivhuwo again, I can't even explain it. It can only be God. And how I survived everything, I don't know. It can only be God. Even now, when I look at everything that happened, I get so emotional. Even my mom, when I talk about it, she cries. She doesn't want to talk about it. She's like, hey, Ndivhuwo, don't remind me of what happened. And I didn't know. It got worse to open that last year. It was bad. I didn't even want to bath. I didn't want to iron. I didn't want to go to work. But, because of everything that happened, I even told my husband, they want me to work. I'm not okay, but I'll go to work. To a point that with my uniform, my husband will be the one to iron it. I would want to go with it. Ishrikani just like that. Shrimp days it was. And he would just say, Marandi, we can't go to work looking like that. God, this uniform is fine. That's when I realized I was not okay. And remember, even when I went back to work, didn't get back. It didn't get better. The abuse was still going on. And I was just taking everything as it comes. And I would go to church. I would speak to the pastor. I think it was helping, and I was still going for therapy. But now, because I didn't have medical aid, now I had to be admitted in Kopano. It was bad. Right now, in private, you don't get to see those kind of psych patients because they would put the depression, you're more functional, you're on your own. So you don't get to see all those bad things that what's the real psych patient, what does the real psych patient looks like. I had to sit with patients, those nyaupes, and now when they're losing it, they will pee on themselves and they will poop. And you're in the same ward. The only thing that, in government that will do, you're only separated by a cubicle. But because these patients roam around, they will still come where you are. They will steal your food. They will do all these bad things. And that's when I realized, but I didn't see this part. I don't want to come to a psychiatric hospital. And this other nurse said with me, Ndivhuwo, you told me that you admitted 3 times. This is the 4th time now. How are you feeling? I told her, I think I'm fine, discharge me. I don't want to be here anymore. She was like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. You have to act fine, even though I saw that. I was like, to a point that even when we're in the bathroom, how a psych patient will come. It's a psych patient. They don't even know that they're doing that.
And also, how are you supposed to get better in an environment like that?
And then, if you're sitting there, you'll say, Kitlo rutela or kitlo kakel. And you have to leave because it's a psych patient. To a point that even when you're eating food, psych patient will say, oh, it's like a prison.
It sounds like a prison.
That's how it was in government. And you don't get to sleep because in private, you wake up, maybe they will say you're having all those classes that they have, maybe it's at 9. So you'll have breakfast and then you can go back to bed. But in government, it doesn't work like that. You have to wake up at 4 and bath. And then maybe you can go back to sleep. And then after that, you have to go eat. And but it was not a nice experience. But the nurses, they were kind. But it's government, they can do so much. And because they're dealing with actual psych patients, you find that the ward, it's messy. On their poop there because they will poop and play with poop. So in the bathroom, their poop, they will pee on the floor sometimes, and it was horrible. And I just asked them, I think I'm fine, discharging me. I was not fine, but I just said, you just have to pretend so that they say that you're fine. And then they discharged me. Now that's when it hit me hard that how did I get here? And then August, I had a miscarriage. Then October, my dad was involved in an accident. And then I went home, but I saw that was not okay. You see the way that he walked, could see that he's still in pain, but he's acting strong. He didn't say, my daughter, no, don't worry about me, I'm okay. I was like, Papa, you don't look okay at all. And then it seems like there was an internal bleeding that they missed. Because now it started, I saw him, I was happy that at least Papa is walking, you can talk. But that man was far from being okay. And around December, that when he complicated it, he started vomiting blood, he was pooping blood. And then they had to rush him to the hospital on the 5th of December. He passed away on the same day. And I think it was complication from the accident. So the hospital says a stroke, but I beg to differ. Still a case with the CEO. Because to me, I just told them this was negligence. Even if you're saying it's stroke, where I'm working, I even went to a workshop. You can't tell me anything about stroke. I'm well informed when it comes to stroke, but what did you do? Did you do scans? Where the blood? I read the file myself and I was not happy with their record keeping, with everything, but I couldn't read the file further because, this is my father. It's not like when I'm dealing with a patient where you want to get to the bottom of what happened to your patient, and it's like whatever that I was reading could actually have a picture of how my dad was. Remember now, even with the nursing, they have to report everything, foaming, but I was like, if you had internal bleeding, and my mom said he was coughing blood and it was smelly, it means my dad could have had an internal bleeding. And if it's not treated, it can have bad side effects. Can even be brain dead, and you can mistake that for a stroke. Can mistake that for a patient maybe was poisoned. It can be anything. Unfortunately, we couldn't do autopsy, but that's because even when I went there, their doctor was on the phone. One thing about me, Kgao, I never disclose who I am. Even the way that I dress when I'm at home, you wouldn't even think that I work. You will think that I'm just a hobo or some girl, mahayeng, who's not working. They didn't know who I was until when my dad passed away, and then I just told them, do you know who I am? I'm a speech therapist, I work in Gauteng. Then that's when they're like, And I said, you're lying. My dad didn't have a stroke. You guys are just trying to cover everything that you did. You didn't treat a medical condition. I mean, my dad yes, he had diabetes, he had hypertension. But when he was admitted here, it was a surgical case. Then how come he was in medical ward? So there's a lot that they did, and I'm still giving them a chance to give me answers, because I told them I need answers from your medical team, everyone that was involved. I want everyone to explain, but I'm still going to escalate the matter. But I'm just giving you guys a chance, because in Gauteng, where I'm working, if you see that the patient, of course, when you admit a patient, you can see the prognosis here is not good. This patient won't even live to this long. Then now start counseling the patient, the family. I mean, you prepare them that expect anything. This is stroke. My mother, when I asked her, did you guys try maybe to ask? They said, no, we went to the ward to ask what was wrong with your father, and we were told that you wouldn't understand. I mean, what is it that you wouldn't understand if you're telling a patient that you had a stroke? I mean, everyone knows stroke. If you're saying your patient has a CVA, it's only you and I as medical practitioners, because that's a medical term.
Sure.
Mara, if you tell a family that this person had a stroke, this is what we did. And I even asked them, what are the guidelines? Because if a patient is an accident, you can't just do a chest x-ray. What if my spine is broken? Or what if they were disc that shifted as a result of an accident? Or what if any bone could be broken? And if it is left untreated, it can have side effects.
Sure.
It can take someone's life. They didn't do that. And I'm like, I understand with government hospitals. I work in government myself. Human resources, especially in Limpopo, is bad. I'm like, but you could have transferred him to Chidizin Hospital. You could have transferred him to Polokwane for a CT scan, for an emergency CT scan. And, I honestly speaking, I was not happy. And it made me feel so bad. To say, maybe if I had worked home, I would have done something. But if it doesn't matter now, it's gone.
And also, what could you have done?
Yeah. And if you're working for the state, you can see with your colleagues, it's not all of us that are very passionate. You can do so much yourself. But we work with people that do not want to do their jobs. It's that thing of saying it's government, I just need to sign in and out. And people make friends, I know the CEO, I know the DD, so I can always get away with whatever. That's how it is. It's not just in Gauteng, it's everywhere. In government institutions, it's bad.
It's actually very, it's heartbreaking, because, government workers, or rather in health, work with human lives, people's parents, siblings, children. So, Ndivhuwo, before we wrap up, because I have so many questions and I know we can't unpack everything in just 1 hour. With everything you've been through, everything, which is a lot, right? It's been a traumatizing couple of years. Where did you get support? Because it sounds like your family was very supportive, but where did you get support?
Before my dad passed away, he was my biggest support system. When I was sick, he was the one who would take me to church, would go to Moria, trying to get me help. But I realized that man was dealing with a lot. I thought it was just me. But now when I recall everything that he said to me, to a point that, when they froze my salary, it put me under a lot of pressure, to a point that they even wanted to repossess the car. And he was like, my child, do not worry about worldly things. Worry about your health. What's important is life. Because if you're living, you can work for this. He even gave me an example of how he lost everything from the fire. And it burned everything that he owned. He was just left with the clothes that he was wearing. And he said, look at me now where I am. When I met your mother, I didn't have all of this. We had to work hard. He was one man who was a hard worker, to a point that I learned a lot from them. I'm a hard worker. I work so very hard, but family was there, friends were there. Some are no longer. We don't have a close relationship anymore, because when you're going through the most, you get to see people's true colors. But at church, I wanna go the Zion Christian Church. Baruti will support me. They would advise me when I'm not okay. I would have one-on-one conversation. It's a counseling sort of, and you tell them whatever that you're going through, and battle for advice. At work, there was no support there. At first I thought it was, but it was not there. Because if someone is going through the most and they seek psychological counseling, you refuse that to them, it means you just want them to die. You want them to commit suicide. If I would say I was not suicidal, I would be lying.
Sure.
So many times where I stay in Ferenaken is next to the main road, I would think about just standing there or just running in front of the car, and just those thoughts were there. And I would go out, but I would just hear a voice, what are you doing? Go back. Or something, if I would want to open a door, I wouldn't have the strength to go there. I would stand in front of the door, but I wouldn't do it. There were so many times where I saw God. I'm still seeing him till today, because with everything that I went through, most people don't survive it.
Definitely.
Even if you are to go to a psychiatric hospital, you don't recover such traumatic experience. But here I am, and I feel better. I even told my mom, it's like Dad left, but I got my healing. I started questioning God. Did my dad maybe made some sort of agreement with God to say, now rather you take me, because I've lived 67 years of my life and my daughter is still young. He would always say these words. And that's when my mom told me, there was a day when your dad was sick. He didn't respond for a good 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, that's when he responded to say, my wife, you're disturbing me. I'm having a conversation with my God. After that, he passed away. To me, it was not a coincidence. It was a sacrifice that a parent took. Painful one. I needed him. There were, even now, there are a lot of positive things happening that I want to share. A lot of them. But I'm like, hey, Papa, I know you're with me, but not physically. I want to plan my wedding, but who's going to walk me down the aisle because of it? I'm still recovering from his passing and how everything happened, and policies lapsing and everything, and now someone died, and death doesn't knock, doesn't warn you. When I went home in December, I went to see my sick dad, but I was welcomed by his death, because just an hour after I got home, my dad passed away. And I couldn't come back to work for the whole of December, because now we had to plan a funeral. I never planned all of that. I thought, he's strong, he's still gonna be here. And as people, when you analyze anything, you might want to blame everyone, but I just said it was time. He had to leave. And it's painful, but I had to learn to grow up, because when you are this girl, when things go south, you even forgot that the person that you have to run to is God, and not your parent, not your therapist, not your pastor. And now, as he passed away, the whole of December, I didn't think I was gonna survive Kgao, because even when they took his body, I couldn't even cry. I thought it was a joke, a bad one. I thought maybe this man is pranking me. Maybe April Fool in December, but it wasn't. Just sleeping there peacefully. I just looked at him, and even when they took his body, the man from the mortuary, he just said someone should make a prayer so that we can take his body. I didn't cry. To make that prayer for him, so that they take him from the hospital mortuary to the mortuary that we were using at home. I couldn't even cry. The only time when I broke down was on Wednesday, when we went to the mortuary to view his body. And that man, when it's like God is talking to you, I didn't want to cry. And that man was like, you won't make it, my child. You have to cry. When you cry, you're getting rid of the pain. I know this was your biggest support system, and it cannot be easy. The minute when I couldn't even utter one word, I just said a few words that there was a lot that I wanted to share. But I couldn't even come to the hospital and pray for you, because I was welcomed by a dead body, And that's when I cried. And I was very weak to a point that even my knees were shaking. And I just asked my mom, take me out. I can't say more, because I can't. And I don't know if I would be able to drive you back home, because it was like it's 60 kilometers away from our home.
Sure.
So, but I just asked God for strength. When I was crying, it was like I could see him there. But now he was not alone. I just saw Jesus. He was there with him. That gave me comfort that he's in good place. He's resting. Even at church, they will say, when you die, you're going to go to the Father, and that's where you're going to have your peace. Even with his body. If they say someone, when you die, with you look beautiful. That man even was lighter than me. And that gave me peace. That is resting. And I just have to let him go. But it's not easy, But I'm dealing with it. I mean, with everything that I've been through, I thought, I don't think I will survive it. But I'm getting stronger each day. Even in December, I couldn't sleep. I would sleep for 2 hours. The rest I would spend it praying for strength. When I came back to work in January, I was so angry. It was like I can just buy a gun and shoot them one by one, because they've taken so much from me. But I knew that's not the way. That's not the way to deal with everything. And it's not my battle. I've just given everything to God. And, after I shared the video, National Department of Health did reach out, and I was called in few platforms to come and share my story. And your aunts, your uncle, they were very angry. How could you go to social media talk about something private? But I was like, I just have to put myself out there. My enemies will laugh. Most people, when they saw that podcast, they had a perception to say I'm not okay, but I was very much fine. Yes, I cried there because now you are reliving
Sure, 100%.
the bad memories, the trauma. But I'm okay. When I'm not okay, I kneel down. I cry to God. That's how I'm coping. That's how I'm still alive. And everyone would say, what's the formula? There's no formula. It was faith. It was prayer. It was the word of God. Hence, I'm still here. A lot could have happened, but and I feel like I'm just a living testimony. To say so many people that went through what I went through, you can only identify graves. But I'm still very much healthy. Medically, I'm medical fit. I'm okay. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm still going for counseling with my psychologist. At work, I've just learned to not allow them to trigger me. But you know, when you go for counseling, I have a good psychologist. I don't want to lie. That woman, she's the one that saved me. I could have died, and you know, with most psychologists, they avoid spirituality.
Yes.
But if I can tell you that my session, the first time when I was not okay, it was, we sit like this, it was like, now you're sitting with God. And now he's showing you the right way. Go pray like this. Go read this word. Go do this. No, don't feel bad. And you know, it has given me so much confidence to a point that I'm very shy. I would, if it was before, I'm sure even when we were still in varsity, you wouldn't think that I would sit in front of the camera, share about my life. I'm very private. I don't want people knowing my business. I select who I share my story with. But I'm like, you know, most people are going through a lot. You know, after I shared my story, so many people did send me DMs. Some did WhatsApp me to say, Ndivhuwo, this is what I'm going through. Like, how are you still alive after everything? I'm like, guys, this is the formula. God, the word of God, the faith and prayer. Those are the 3 weapons that I was using. But I didn't do it alone. There were people that had to do that for me or to share that information with me. And I started practicing it. Here I am today. And, you know, I was like, there's so much that I want to do. Yes, government it keeps on disappointing us, but I just praying that one day maybe there will be change. You don't know when. Maybe we'll be gone. But there is a project that I want to start. It's not mental health per se, but it's after my dad passed away, that's when I realized that our communities, especially in rural areas, they're not well informed when it comes to their rights. What do I do if a healthcare worker does this? They don't know that. So there is a project, but with this project, I haven't implemented it. It's just an idea for now, where I'm going to use our communication week, the STA week, where we are going to invite different stakeholders, including those of Department of Education, because I realized that in rural areas, we don't have a lot of special schools. But if you check Gauteng, they have special school in each and every kasi. But when you check Limpopo, you check the Eastern Cape, Free State, all these rural areas, we don't have that. It's just to cry to the government to say, if Gauteng can have all these resources, how come the rural health can't have all of this, you know? So, yeah, I'm still working on it. But with this one, we're going to join hands. It's not just for Limpopo people.
Sure.
But I just said, with this project, I'm going to take it back home. I don't want to work home. I'm fine here in Gauteng because both of me and my husband, we work here. But it's just to... I just thought, if healthcare professionals, we join hands, we bring these government people, they're in parliament, because I feel like, especially with speech therapy and audiology, they don't know about us. Even the community, you say, I'm a speech therapist, they think, oh, you write speech. Oh, you work with the president. That's what they think. Kani, there's so much that we do. Not just speech therapy, occupational therapy, physiotherapy, but I feel like with physiotherapy, people know.
Yes.
If you say physiotherapy, they know what they do. But with occupational therapy and speech therapy, they're not well informed. And it just tells me it means the people that are appointed to represent the profession, they're not doing it. So, but if you come together, you have to act. You have to show them that we are doing this. I just said we're just going to come together as speech therapists and audiologists who are from Limpopo, but the project won't be just be limited to Limpopo people. It's for everyone. To say we need to advocate for our profession. Because if we don't speak for ourselves, no one will. And you have to show them this is what we do.
Sure.
And how are you going to support us as government? Yeah, so we are going to come together. We'll create a WhatsApp group where we will share ideas on how we're going to do this. But you know one thing about me, if I want something, if I want Cyril to be part of this project, he will be there. So I just have to sit, and we have, because it can be a big project where it can change a lot about rural health.
Yes.
But I don't know much about policies. I don't like policies, but we need to follow them. Because we might even need to draft a business plan to the government about this project, and we can come together to even form a committee that can start this project. So it can be a big thing.
Yes.
But we just need the right people. We need all this knowledge. If we come together, we can plan a big thing. Alone, I can't. I just have this idea, but how I'm going to implement it, I still don't know for now. But if we are to come together, it can be a big thing. Because I want the MEC of Health, I want the Minister of Health, I want them to go to Limpopo so that they see how these hospitals are. They're sitting up there in their offices, and you can see with how they always demand, no, we want this clinic to run. But I'm like, I'm alone. How am I supposed to do that? You don't even understand the pressure that I'm under as a healthcare worker. But you're demanding all of these things. But if they are to come there, they do see it. But with politicians, I don't think they care. To them, it's all about votes. It's all about... And our grannies, they don't know these things. But... So, that's the idea for now with everything that has happened. And I just said we're going to take it home first. And then from there, we can say maybe quarterly, maybe we're going to the Eastern Cape, we're going to KZN, or these are the districts that we need to visit and implement the project. So it can be a big thing. It just need
hands.
Yeah, it just need all of us as healthcare workers, as employees in the Department of Health, the therapists that are working for Department of Education, working for Department of Health, or whichever department, to say, if we come together, if we come as one to say, no, now we are demanding. We are tired of the empty promises that the government, when they want votes, to say, no, we'll do this, and then they don't do it. And now when they're approaching votes, that's when they start doing something. And our grannies don't know this. Remember, our grannies didn't go to school, but we did. And if we don't fight for our communities, who will?
Sure.
I work in Gauteng, and I feel like if you check with a Sebokeng, if you sit with a mother, they know what is autism. They know if my child has a hearing loss, what do I need to do? But if you go to Limpopo, KZN, or Eastern Cape, they don't know that. They might think maybe the child is bewitched or something. Because they're not well informed. They don't have the right information or access to this information. And not that the employees, they're not doing anything. They are, but you find that there's only one person in that hospital. You have to serve a community that is close to 1 million or over,
Sure.
Yeah, so, but if you come together, we have these projects, and we talk to our communities. We inform them about their rights. What are your responsibilities? What can you do if you come through this challenge? I think they will know how to take or to take well-informed decision, because if you know better, then you can do better, you know. So that's what when I was doing the rounds in my community, that's when I realized that it's not just me. I'm a healthcare worker, I know better because I work in a hospital. Mara, someone doesn't know. If like I almost died in a hospital, what can I do? Where do I go if I need to report? If a nurse shouted at me, what is it that I need to do? And it's not an excuse, Kgao, to say, like myself, I'm a healthcare worker. I'm still working for public health. I went through a lot. But I do not have any right to shout at anyone or to take my frustrations on anyone. So, you know, even with some nurses, even when we're having a conversation, they'll say, no, Mara, we're going through a lot. I'll always ask that question. Patient, you're going through a lot, yes. What did you do? Did you report? Because I feel like if the government see the stats to say most employees are going through this, they will act.
They'll make it, they'll do
But
something
if you guys are
about
just sitting saying, I'm scared of being victimized, then how do you expect to get help? You know, because you do, you know, even with medication, it has its own side effects. If you take it for too long, it has its own side effects, like your memory. Like now, I'm very forgetful. You know, I sometimes what's going on, then it just tells you stress on its own, it has side effects, you know. So yeah, that's basically what I'm planning to do. But I am planning to go back to school. I need to further my studies. There's a lot that I want to do in my life, but I'm just doing one thing at a time. Because you do too many things, it can be overwhelming as well. Yeah.
Especially in your healing journey. Ndivhuwo, like I said, there's still so much we can unpack. And thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It's a very traumatic experience, but I love that you are using it to help others. You are using it to give back. And that is the picture of resilience. And if you have, you know, people that you know that could really help Ndivhuwo in the project that she really wants to start, that will help the community, or patients rather, to know about their rights as patients of a hospital, please just do contact her. Ndivhuwo, where do people find you? If they want to invite you to share your story, if they want to partner with you.
Okay, I do have WhatsApp. Do I share my number now?
Completely up to you.
So they can contact me on WhatsApp 071 4982 880. I am also on TikTok, it's Ndivhuwo Sadike. Even on Facebook, it's Ndivhuwo Sadike or Sadike Ndivhuwo. And I am on Instagram, but with calls, sometimes I find that I'm busy with patients.
Sure.
I can't take calls. So I would accept if maybe they can just send WhatsApp, even when they send voice note. But even calls, they can call. But if I can't answer, I will try to get back to them.
Sure.
That's how they can get hold of me.
Okay.
Should they need to talk about the project, or maybe they want me to share their story. So the main thing I'm doing this is just to empower everyone. It doesn't matter what kind of abuse. It can be abuse from a partner. Is it at work? Abuse is abuse. But you need to act. You can't just sit and play a victim while you're not fighting for yourself. Because if you don't fight for yourself, no one will. You know, it starts with people reporting bad managers at work. That's where it starts. And how they react is their problem. And it's just to stay being patient. And I know it's not everyone that will say they're stronger like Ndivhuwo, but I was not born this strong. It's challenges that I went through that made me the person that I am. But you can't just say, but nah, I'm not as strong as her. Who was born strong? Even you, you can't say you were born strong like this. It's the challenges that we go through and we grow, you know. So yeah, it's only start with reporting and just having faith that God, even if they don't do anything, but God will will fight for you.
Do something.
You know, when you pray, you might think that prayer doesn't work. I saw that prayer does work. You know, now, when I check, I'm one person that I love writing. I journal my feelings. I love reading a lot. And when sometimes, you know, I do read something that I've written in 2023, and I see that, oh, kahle, this is an answered prayer, and I'll tick.
Sure.
Oh, this is an answered prayer, and I'll tick. And I'm like, I didn't even see that I was living an answered prayer. Like, for example, when I was in varsity, I never thought I would get married this fast. You know, when I met my husband, we dated for a year, and then we paid lobola. And then when I go back, I realized that no, I wrote this as something expressing the feelings, but it was a prayer, because I would even say, God, please help me. And then when I read, I'm like, yo, and this is an answered prayer. This guy married me when I was going crazy. And, you know, even in relationship, you can go through a lot and but I'm like, if he was not man enough, no man will want to marry a crazy girl. And people will talk, why would you marry someone that's losing it? But then I realized, and I saw something that even his family didn't even say it. Hence, we're still together till today, regardless of what challenges may come. But when I think, this guy married me when I was not okay, that's a man. And, you know, no one is perfect. You know, as ladies, sometimes you have your checklist. I want a man who's looking like this. He must have this, must have this. But to me, it's not all of that. It's someone who was there for me when I was at my lowest. Then I will say, I'm staying with this person.
Sure.
Or I will say, I'm keeping this friend because they were there. You know, it's about consistency for me. Material things comes after. Don't care. I can even date a security guy. Or, to me, that it's not about status, but it's about consistency, you know. Because even with the friends that I keep, it's the ones that I realize they were consistent. It's not about what you will get from Ndivhuwo, but what will Ndivhuwo get. You know, it's not about money. Just an advice. One word from you can change someone's life completely. And I've seen that because with people that I've been with, my psychologist at church, certain people, even strangers that I didn't even know, it changed my life completely to where I am. And when I'm sitting alone, I'm very stubborn, but when I'm reflecting on the day, I will be like, Mara, there you are right. I was wrong. But because you're frustrated, you know, as a human being, you'd want to be right. So, yeah, that's basically that.
Yeah. I hope this inspires you to seek help, to speak up, and to take back your power. Ndivhuwo is a wonderful example of how difficult taking back your power is, but how worth it. How worth it. Ooh, how worth it is. And I'm going to plead with you to lean on the support that you have around you, and and just chase your healing journey. With that being said, I have to remind you that this is not medical advice and it is not any advice of any sort, but it is for educational purposes. And do remember to like, comment, subscribe, share, because the story, and all the other information that we share on this podcast will help someone. If not you, then definitely someone you know. And remember, workplace bullying has detrimental effects on the victim. And I hope today's story was a perfect example of that. If you are going through something of that sort, please seek help. With that being said, from myself and Ndivhuwo, it is goodbye.
Bye.